Have you ever discovered something unexpected that changed your view about family or past? The flickering fluorescent lights of the school gym cast a sterile glow over the packed chairs arranged in rigid rows. Megan sat near the back, her posture tense, hands nervously clasping and unclasping in her lap. The murmur of parents and teachers filled the air, an uneasy soundtrack to a night her son had long anticipated but she already dreaded. The gym smelled of polished wood and faintly of sweat and old popcorn from concession stands. Outside, a thin drizzle tapped gently on the windows, muffling the sounds of passing cars and whispered conversations that floated in from the parking lot. Suddenly, the door creaked open, drawing eyes among them. In walked her ex-husband. Beside him, a woman Megan had never met, radiant and confident, her laughter slicing through the low hum like a blade. The room's energy shifted, charged with silent tension. Megan's son's face flushed with embarrassment as all eyes shifted toward them. Whispers erupted, eyes flicking between Megan and the new woman, an unspoken narrative of replacement and exclusion filling the space. The teacher called for order, but the moment's charge lingered, thick as a fog. "Mrs. Carter," the teacher began carefully, glancing toward Megan, "we appreciate your involvement. However, I must say, it's clear from recent assessments that your son's struggles can stem largely from a lack of sufficient academic support at home." A heavy silence swallowed the room. The subtext landed like a blow that Megan's efforts, her capability, were under scrutiny, clouded by unspoken judgments. Megan's throat tightened. Her eyes flicked toward her son, whose gaze was lowered, his shoulders hunched as his father's new partner smiled knowingly nearby. A murmur arose, half sympathetic, half suffocating in its patronizing pity. Her breath caught as the sting of humiliation dripped down her spine. "Maybe if you were more present," she stopped herself, a bitter taste on her tongue. Instead, she forced a nod, voice barely audible. "I'm doing my best." The teacher's gaze lingered, a mixture of condescension and discomfort, before shifting away. The new woman's laughter rose again, a careless flourish that punctuated Megan's shame. The meeting continued, but Megan was adrift, the whispers and glances closing in, the gym shrinking until it felt like an arena spotlighting her failures. Her son reached out, tentative, and squeezed her hand. It was a small anchor amidst the storm, a reminder of love not diminished by others' gaze. As the conference ended, Megan rose slowly, careful to mask the tremble in her legs. Her ex-husband gave her a polite nod, the silent message clear: she was a page turned. Outside, the rain had intensified, splashing silver across the parking lot as Megan stepped out. Her coat pulled tight, her gaze forward, but her heart a tempest of shame, doubt, and a sliver of unspoken resolve. Her dog, waiting in the car, greeted her with a wagging tail, licking her hand as if promising unconditional loyalty in a world that seemed to offer none. The camera held on Megan's face, shadows and streetlights playing lightly on her skin, a portrait of quiet strength born from the ashes of humiliation. The scene faded on the car door closing gently, the final sound a whispered sigh mingling with the rain's steady rhythm, a fragile beginning nestled in the night. The evening light filtered in through the pale curtains of Megan's modest living room, casting long, soft shadows that stretched across worn wooden floors and faded upholstery. Outside, the suburban street lay quiet beneath the early fall dusk, leaves whispering a gentle rustle in the cool breeze. Inside, the air felt thick with unspoken words and the weight of moments crushed beneath the crushing press of humiliation. Megan sank into the weary embrace of the couch, arms folded tightly around herself in a fragile shell of protection. The residual echo of the parent-teacher conference lingered like a heavy gray fog in her mind. The indifferent looks, the teacher's veiled criticisms sharpened by the shadow of her ex-husband's presence, the new woman's carefree smile, a silent judgment more cutting than any spoken word. Her son's face haunted her vision, downcast eyes and tightened lips, the right mix of shame and quiet loyalty that mirrored her own hidden struggles. Megan closed her eyes briefly, wishing the moment would dissolve into nothingness, an escape from the suffocating gaze of the unforgiving world. Beneath the surface, a storm brewed, shame interwoven with anger, sharp and cold. Anger at a society that judged her worth by milestones measured in dollars and social endorsements. Anger at the silence of those who should have shielded her. Anger at the fracturing of her family's fragile bonds. Yet the fury was tinged with vulnerability, a silent scream muffled beneath self-doubt. The room's muted warmth felt at once comforting and confining, as if the coziness tried but failed to mend the cracks spreading silently in Megan's spirit. Her fingers brushed the broken ring hidden beneath her sleeve, an emblem of broken promises and severed ties. She flexed it lightly, the cold metal reminding her of fractures deeper than the visible. Outside, the soft bark of her dog, Echo, pulled subtly at her thoughts, the fidelity and unconditional love he offered like a quiet anchor in the turbulence of her heart. The sound wove through the quiet room, filling spaces that words could not reach. Megan's breath came in slow, tangled waves. Her lips parted slightly, barely a whisper over the ticking clock. What now? The question hung heavy between the muted walls, a fragile twig caught in a current of uncertainty. Was this the end, the final scene of defeat? Or the beginning of a struggle yet unseen? Her gaze fell upon a dust-coated envelope resting on the windowsill where sunlight hesitated, a forgotten relic from an earlier day. Something about it called to her, the promise of truth tangled in its creases. Light caught the paper's edges, illuminating faint traces of a familiar script. The moment before reaching for it was taut with hesitation, a breath held inside time, pregnant with possibility. Then, her fingers closed softly around the envelope, lifting it with a blend of dread and flickering hope. The crackle of the paper, the cool texture beneath her fingertips, became a quiet signal, a spark igniting in the dim of her resolve. Outside, the dying light faded into deepening twilight, the first stars shyly peeking through the velvet sky. The scene lingered on Megan's thoughtful silhouette, her eyes wide, heart racing as the enigma of the letter unfolded in the muted dusk, carrying the whisper of a new beginning nestled within its fragile pages. The late afternoon sun cast a soft amber glow through the leafy canopy above, dappling Megan's worn jacket and the dusty hood of her car with shifting patterns of light and shadow. The neighborhood street was quiet now, the muffled hum of distant traffic blending with the rhythmic chirp of cicadas. Megan bent over the open hood of her car, the familiar scent of engine oil mingling with the earthiness of the late summer breeze, grounding her amid the fracturing storm inside. Her fingers traced absently along the cold metal frame as she wiped away the grime with a damp cloth, mind swirling with the residue of the morning's humiliations, the cold stare from the teacher, the sharp tension in the room when her ex-husband appeared with his new partner, the blind pity mixed with unspoken judgments. She paused, reaching into her jacket pocket and pulling out a crumpled envelope she hadn't noticed before, its paper slightly worn, edges softened like a relic asleep for years. The handwriting on the front was neat, looping delicately, addressed not to her, but something in her bones compelled her to read. Careful, almost hesitant, Megan peeled back the flap as the lengthening shadow stretched over the quiet street. Inside lay a letter, yellowed just slightly by time, words penned in ink that bore the warmth of a hand willing to bridge the distance between lost souls. The letter spoke softly of connections long buried beneath the weight of silence and fear, a testament to truth that wound its way through generations and across miles. With each phrase, the past seemed to stir, weaving its threads through the brittle present, challenging Megan's notions of family, belonging, and self. Outside, a gentle breeze rustled leaves and sent the sweet bark of her dog Echo shivering from a nearby porch, his faithful presence a steady pulse against the uncertainty of the letter's revelations. It was as if the air itself had shifted, the familiar suddenly unfamiliar, charged with the possibility of something waiting, just beyond reach. A broken ring, a quiet symbol worn low on her finger, caught the fading light, a reminder of what was lost, of fractures she bore silently with weary grace. Yet the letter promised that some bonds might yet mend, that some stories were waiting, ready to be told anew. Her eyes swept the words again, breath-catching at the hint of a name, a place, a promise unspoken but palpable between the Lanessa portal to a world where acceptance and the true meaning of home might be rediscovered. The sun sank lower, the sky brushed with strokes of rose and lavender, a private twilight unfolding just for her. A small smile traced the curve of Megan's lips, fragile yet real, a whispered vow dancing in the quiet evening. Her fingers closed softly around the letter, clutching it as a fragile talisman. Echo's paws stirred softly at her feet, a heartbeat of unconditional love, loyal and true. The scene lingered on Megan's face, eyes bright with the first spark of hope igniting beneath the layers of loss and doubt, a moment suspended between what was and what might be, where the past's heavy silence began to yield the melody of a new beginning. A gray November sky stretched over the suburban town, the first rain of the season murmuring its steady rhythm against the windshield of Megan's aging sedan. Yet inside the car, a low hum of determination simmered beneath the muted light of the dashboard, shaking the weight of yesterday's humiliation from her shoulders, if only for a moment. Beneath her layered clothes, her fingers twitched with restless anticipation, tracing the smooth edge of the envelope she had found earlier, the letter that had become a fragile lifeline. The park outside was swathed in the softening mist of early evening, silhouettes of leafless trees swaying as the wind whispered secrets through their skeletal branches. Megan stepped from the car, the chill immediately biting through her coat but pushing her forward, a quiet rebellion against the growing shadows wrapped around her heart. The dampness clinging to the earth beneath her boots was both grounding and unsettling, a reminder of the unknown road stretching ahead. Her small apartment felt unsteady under her steps as she settled at the crude kitchen table, the peeling veneer scarred with years of hurried breakfasts and late-night worries. She unfolded the letter again, every crease a testament to nights spent tracing and retracing these words that spoke of connection and truth, a mysterious call to the past that flickered like a candle in the dark. Beside her, the soft breathing of her son, kept safe and warm in another room, was a steady heartbeat amid the whirlwind. Echo, their loyal dog, underpawed nervously at her side, tail wagging cautiously, a silent sentinel offering unconditional love in the face of uncertainty. As Megan read deeper into the letter, the camera leaned close on her face, tracing the shifting hues of light across her skin, hope flaring briefly before retreating under the weight of doubt. Words such as family, secrets, and home were laced with such fragile power they seemed to vibrate silently in the muted air. Determination kindled, though tempered by the faintest tremor of fear. Her voice, barely above a whisper, broke the stillness. Maybe this is what I've been searching for. The sound of her own words resonated inside the quiet kitchen, echoing off the walls where old pictures hung askew, faded but cherished ghosts of a past that now seemed both distant and urgent. The weight of the broken ring hidden beneath her sleeve lingered, a symbol of endings but also the possibility of new beginnings. Outside the window, dark clouds gathered ominously, their heavy presence mirrored by the hardening resolve in Megan's eyes. She folded the letter carefully, a solemn vow weaving itself through the lines of her face. The journey ahead was fraught with unknowns, but the glimmer that had ignited could not be extinguished so easily. The city lights flickered on in the distance, casting a soft glow over the winding streets where shadows played and secrets slumbered. With a deep breath, Megan rose, the chair scraping softly against the tiled floor, a small, stubborn sound of resistance amid the silence. The camera held on her silhouette framed by the kitchen window, rain rippling on the glass, a muted reflection of a woman poised on the cusp of transformation, uncertain yet unyielding. The scene faded with the rhythmic patter of rain, the letter resting in her palm, a silent promise of truth, connection, and the road to come. Twilight thickened around Megan's small town, its muted shadows stretching long across the cracked sidewalks as she walked briskly, clutching the letter like a fragile talisman against the biting chill. The damp air was heavy with the scent of rain-soaked leaves, grounding her in moments that fluttered between hope and doubt. Her worn shoes scuffed quietly against the pavement, a syncopated rhythm echoing in her ears alongside the faint warmth radiating from the envelope hidden inside her coat. Earlier that day, A small victory had stirred beneath the surface of her uncertainty. Megan had made contact with a distant relative mentioned obliquely within the letter's delicate script, a woman who spoke back through hesitant messages, voices filtered by years of silence and guarded secrets. This outreach, though tentative, had whispered the first hints of belonging, tugging her past into present focus. Yet a cloud of unease hovered. With each discovery, the facade of safety crumbled in slow, painful increments. Megan grappled with a swirling storm of emotions. Joy dimming into fear, curiosity tangled with the sharp sting of betrayal yet to come. The past, cloaked in mystery, threatened to unravel what stability she had left. At home, the soft rustling of curtains and the warm gaze of her son brought stolen moments of peace. His laughter, and untethered, was an iridescent thread that held her together, but guilt gnawed at the edges of that solace. How much of this uncertain journey could she shield him from? The question echoed in the quiet spaces, unanswered and heavy. Her loyal dog, Echo, rested nearby, his presence a comforting pulse in the intimate room. Megan's fingers traced the familiar contours of the broken ring nestled in her neck, warmer, a cold reminder of fractured promises and the resilience needed to mend what was broken. The phone buzzed softly, a message from the relative. A cryptic note hinted at family stories buried deeper than Megan imagined, drawing her further into the labyrinth. Faces from pictures long kept hidden flashed in her memory, the faint spark of recognition pricking the edges of her mind. But then came a surprise she had not anticipated. A late-night visitor at her front door, a woman whose eyes bore the sharpness of calculated intent. Underneath the calm exterior, Megan sensed a veiled warning, a subtle pressure masked as concern. A test of worthiness or an early shadow of resistance. The hour grew late, and beneath the muted glow of street lamps, Megan wrestled with the tightening coil of uncertainty. Inwardly, doubts clashed with determination. The echo of her voice hummed softly, "I will not be erased." Exhaustion mingled with resolve as she prepared for the next day's reckoning, the letter's secrets a shimmering beacon amid the darkest reaches of her heart. In the quiet, the dog's steady breathing was a reminder of unconditional loyalty in a world so fragile. The scene settled on the flickering candlelight, casting shadows that seemed to dance with possibility and dread, a fragile balance poised on the edge of revelation. Megan's silhouette, framed against the window's rain-streaked glass, carried the weight of history and the fragile, flickering flame of hope. Night deepened, and with it, the quiet tension of a woman unfolding, searching for truth and a place to call home. The late afternoon sun spilled through the gauzy curtains of Megan's cramped living room, casting long, warm rays that filtered dust motes dancing silently in the still air. The room, decorated with the memories of a life cautious and frayed, held the scent of worn leather and old paper, a haven both comforting and claustrophobic. Megan sat alone, the letter unfolded and spread across the scarred oak table in front of her, its words echoing in the quiet like latent thunder. Her fingers trembled as she traced the delicate ink, each sentence unraveling more than just the history of a distant sender. It pulled at the frayed threads of her own forgotten past, revealing fractures long ignored. The letter was not merely a message but a mirror reflecting truths once buried beneath layers of pain and silence. The broken ring rested beside the letter, a constant reminder of love severed and promises lost. Yet today, its presence felt heavier, charged with an unbearable weight. It was no longer just a symbol of failed relationships but a key to mysteries obscured by time and denial. Megan's breath faltered as the realization unfurled. The letter's sender was not a stranger but a link to the missing pieces of her own family's story, a story shaped by secrets and whispered absences. The ink faded from paper to truth, each revelation a fracture in the delicate facade she had constructed around her life. Outside, Echo's soft whine and the rustle of leaves against the windowpane underscored the gravity settling in the room. Loyalty and unconditional love awaited patiently, contrasting starkly with Megan's storm of uncertainty. "Why was this hidden from me?" she whispered, voice cracking, folding the letter slowly as if to hold the fragile threads of her unraveling identity together. The warmth of the afternoon sun seemed to dim, shadows deepening across her face, accentuating the conflict etched in her eyes. Memories flashed violently. Childhood moments unremembered, family gatherings that never took place, a void where belonging should have thrived. The quiet tension transformed betrayal crystallized like shards beneath her steadying breath, and loss bloomed sharp and raw. Yet amid the pain, a fragile glimmer of clarity emerged, a painful but empowering understanding that to heal, she would have to confront the truths buried deep, to reconcile with ghosts and facades alike. It was a daunting path, wrought with uncertainty but threaded with possibility. Megan rose, the breaking light carving her silhouette against the worn family portraits lining the wall. Determination set her jaw. Vulnerability gave way to resilience. The letter clasped tightly in her hand was no longer just an artifact of grief but a torch guiding her forward. The camera followed her hesitant but resolute steps out to the porch, where Echo waited, tail wagging softly as if sensing the shift. A breeze stirred the fallen leaves, whispers of change, and carried with it a faint scent of renewal. The final shot held on Megan's eyes, bright and unyielding against a backdrop of twilight. The fractured past lay before her, daunting yet navigable. The truth, however shattering, was hers to claim. The scene faded on this moment of awakening where struggle became clarity and the journey toward transformation began. The rain drummed relentlessly against the windows, a steady, suffocating cadence that mirrored the storm within Megan's chest. The small house felt smaller still, shrouded in shadow and silence, the warm muted tones of earlier days now drowned beneath the gray sky's unforgiving weight. She sat alone at the kitchen table, the letter a fragile remnant of possibility folded and crumpled between her trembling hands. Her eyes, once alight with tentative hope, now stared blankly ahead, reflecting back a fractured image of dreams dissolved and trust shattered. The soft tick of the clock was a cruel metronome to the slow unraveling of everything she had clung to: a mother, a woman, a soul seeking belonging. Outside, the garden lay sodden, the earth dark and unyielding, mirroring the cold rock forming in her stomach. The broken ring resting on the worn tablecloth beside the letter gleamed dully, its fractured circle an unspoken testament to love lost, a heart divided beyond repair. Echo, her faithful companion, whimpered softly at her feet, its unconditional loyalty a solitary beacon in the gathering dusk. Yet even the dog's warmth could not thaw the ice settling in her veins. Memories assaulted her: fleeting laughter in sunlit kitchens, whispered dreams late at night, the delicate threads of a life once whole now torn. The letter's secrets had peeled away the comforting veil, exposing jagged wounds where hope once resided. Her breath hitched in a silent sob, ghosting through the empty room. Words failed as the weight of solitude crashed over her, every heartbeat a painful echo of isolation. The rain intensified, streaking the windowpane with watery scars that blurred the view, distorting the world into an indistinct silhouette. Within those blurred lines, Megan saw reflected her own disintegrating past, a fracturing of identity and purpose that no tender words could mend. Her voice came, a mere whisper lost beneath the storm's fury. Is this all that's left? The house seemed to hold its breath. The walls, heavy with unspoken sorrow, contained the stillness that followed. The only movement was the flickering flame of a single candle, its feeble light quivering as if battling the encroaching darkness. Megan's fingers brushed the letter once more, tracing the worn edges as if to find solace in its fragile promise. But the paper felt cold now, lifeless beneath her touch, a cruel echo of all she feared she'd lost. Her eyes closed briefly, the weight of sorrow bending her head low. The camera pulled back slowly, capturing her solitary figure swallowed by shadow and rain, a portrait of descent, a woman unraveling as the threads of her world frayed into invisibility. Outside, the tempest raged on, relentless and indifferent, the night deepened. Within, Megan hovered at the edge of the abyss, the fragile light of hope flickering, nearly extinguished, swallowed by a silence as vast as the storm itself. The cold seeped through the thin walls of Megan's apartment, wrapping around her like a silent, unyielding shroud. The space was dimly lit, shadows pooling in corners where the glow of a single lamp barely reached. Megan sat alone on the worn couch, knees drawn close, her frame small and fragile against the expanse of emptiness surrounding her. Outside, the night was deep and unrelenting, rain tapping rhythmically against the windows, echoing the relentless storm inside her. Her once vivid eyes, which had danced with fleeting hope and stubborn resolve, now lay dull and vacant. The weight of betrayal pressed heavy upon her chest, constricting breath and blurring sight. The letter, the source of her tentative awakening, had revealed truths too painful to reconcile, fracturing the fragile foundation she'd built. It was a shattered mirror reflecting a past she never fully understood, fracturing her sense of identity. Near her feet lay the broken ring she wore, its fractured band catching the faint light with a cold gleam. It had once symbolized love and unity, but now was just a cruel emblem of fractured ties. Megan's fingers traced the jagged edges, her touch light, as if afraid to awaken further hurt. Echo, faithful and unwavering, rested beside her, his warm breath a subtle comfort. His loyalty, pure and unconditional, starkly contrasted with the storm of uncertainty that engulfed her. Yet even his presence felt distant, swallowed by the pervasive chill of isolation. The room felt cavernous, the silence deafening. Each tick of the clock marked the passage of endless, empty time. Megan's breath came shallow, uneven, every inhale a fight against the overwhelming despair threatening to consume her. Her gaze drifted to the window, through which a fractured view of the outside world shimmered, streetlights blurred by raindrops, shadows swallowing familiar shapes. And there, faint but persistent, was a ghost of light, the faint outline of a chalk drawing remembered from days before. The interlocking hands, once vibrant symbols of unity and hope, seemed now like distant memories washed away by relentless rain. Her lips parted slightly, as if to speak, to cry out, but no words emerged, only a breath, fragile and fading. "Why?" she whispered into the dark, voice cracking with the weight of unanswered questions and broken dreams. The camera closed in slowly, capturing the tremble of her chest, the glistening tears caught in the muted light. The room, the rain, the fractured cymbal-saw entwined in a palpable melancholy. Suddenly, the storm outside echoed a sharp crack of thunder, the sound rolling through the room like a final, shattering blow. Megan slumped deeper into herself, the fragile thread of hope unraveling rapidly. The scene held on her bowed figure, engulfed in shadow, the only movement the slow, ragged rise and fall of her breathing. The world seemed to pause, suspended in an aching silence that stretched endlessly. And in that stillness, light faded to near darkness, a visual metaphor of a soul teetering on the edge of collapse, lost, broken, and silent. The dim light of the late afternoon filtered softly through the small kitchen window, falling gently on the crumpled letter resting on the table. Megan sat quietly, her back curved, lost to the world as a weight deeper than any physical ache settled over her chest. The air was thick with the scent of lemon wax, the remnants of a recent cleaning attempt to chase away the heaviness that clung to her home and to her heart. Her dog, Echo, lay faithfully by her feet, his steady breathing a comforting rhythm in the silence. His gaze, tender and unwavering, tracked her movements, a silent promise of loyalty when words had failed and hope seemed almost gone. Megan's fingers absently traced a worn spot on the faded tablecloth, an unconscious echo of the broken ring tucked beneath her sleeve, a symbol of fractured bonds and silent pain. Outside, the garden swayed in the warm breeze, the last vestiges of autumn leaves rustling softly, whispering faint messages of resilience through the shifting branches. In the distance, a child's laughter broke through the quiet brief, sparkling a reminder of life's persistent pulse. Her gaze drifted back to the letter, its handwriting familiar yet strange, like the echo of a forgotten melody. A soft breeze fluttered through the open window, stirring the edges of the paper and carrying with it the faint scent of lavender, a scent that had once signified comfort and safety. Megan's eyes welled with tears despite herself. Each line of the letter unfolded a story of family roots intertwined with her own, of connections buried beneath decades of silence and unspoken truths. The promise of reunion, of belonging, was faint but insistent, breaking through the darkness that had settled over her spirit. She whispered into the stillness, voice trembling yet resolute, "Maybe there's still a home for me." The room seemed to breathe with her words, the fragile hope blossoming like the last blooms in the garden outside. A soft shaft of sunlight caught the glint of the broken ring, scattering prisms of light across the floor, fractured shards, yet pure and beautiful. Her fingers closed gently around the letter, clutching the fragile thread of possibility. The slow tick of the clock marked the passage of time, but in this suspended moment, Megan was poised on the cusp of transformation, the faintest flicker of light in the shadows. The camera stayed on her face, illuminated by the warm glow of the setting sun, eyes reflecting pain, resilience, and a glimmer of clarity. Silent and still, she sat the quiet before the turning tide. Outside, the garden's shadows deepened, but somewhere beyond, the first stars began to pierce the night, heralding a new beginning waiting patiently in the darkness. The first light of dawn seeped softly through the upstairs window, casting a warm, golden hue across Megan's modest bedroom. The air was still, filled with a gentle silence that contrasted sharply with the chaos she had lived through each day, haunted by betrayal and doubt. She lay curled beneath the tattered quilt, eyes half-closed, catching fleeting glimpses of a future now felt just out of reach. In her mind, a quiet rebirth was stirring, fragile but persistent. Her thoughts drifted to the envelope she found yesterday, the mysterious letter, ominous yet beckoning, a symbol of secrets buried deep within her own family history. This discovery, laced with trepidation and hope, had begun to stir something long dormant. A whisper of possibility, a flicker of the strength she thought she'd lost. The soft click of the door opening broke the silence, and her son's small face appeared at the threshold. His eyes, wide and trusting, looked at her with a mixture of innocence and concern. His tiny hand reached out, clutching her arm gently. Megan's lips quivered, but she mustered a faint smile, a fragile bond of unspoken understanding. Together, they moved to the window, where the world outside was awakening. The garden below was bathed in a gentle glow. Dew sparkled on the grass like 1,000 tiny stars, symbols of hope, quiet yet resilient. Megan watched her breath fogging in the crisp air, the sight stirring an unsteady, renewed resolve. There, amidst the cool dawn, she sensed the first stirrings of change. The fears, the betrayals, the fractured relationships, the broken ring that once symbolized love lost began to soften, easing into the background. Her fingers brushed the window pane, tracing the faint outline of her reflection, a woman at a crossroads, wounded yet awakening. In the dim corners of her mind, the pieces of her past slotted softly into place, memories that once felt overwhelming now shimmered with the promise of redemption. A quiet tide rising within her, whispering that some cracks could be mended, that trust could be restored, even if slowly. She closed her eyes, exhaling deeply, and a tiny, almost imperceptible smile formed an acknowledgement that change was possible, that hope was not yet fully extinguished. It was a breath of new beginnings, fragile but fiercely alive. The camera lingered on her face, air features softened by dawn's tender light, eyes shimmering with a cautious glimmer of strength. Outside, the world stirred anew, birds singing softly, leaves shimmering in the first light of day. A subtle shift, a quiet awakening, a moment pregnant with potential. As she turned away from the window, the scene faded slowly into the dawn's embrace, hinting that her journey was just beginning, an uncertain path toward healing, woven with the delicate threads of hope and renewed courage. The dim glow of dawn seeped softly through the slightly ajar window, casting a muted amber across the cluttered table where Megan sat, clutching the folded letter with trembling hands. Her breath was shallow, each inhalation fraught with the weight of revelation and hope. The air in her modest home was thick with a nervous anticipation, as if the walls themselves sensed the quiet storm of change brewing within her. Outside, the neighborhood was still waking. Birds chirped softly, dew sparkled on the fragile grass, and a distant dog barked gently, an intimate chorus of life continuing despite the silent chaos inside her mind. Megan's eyes, tired yet fiercely determined, traced the faintly scrawled lines of the letter words penned in ink that shimmered with unspoken truths, secrets buried deeply within her ancestors' history. The room felt suspended in time, the light shifting as shadows withdrew, giving way to flickers of recognition. Each word Megan read was a step away from despair, toward the dawn of reconnection. Her fingers brushed over the paper, feeling the textured crease each fold a barrier broken, each sentence a thread pulling her closer to her own story. Her earlier doubts, the self-imposed guilt, and the ghosts of past betrayals flickered like dying embers in the periphery, momentary, fragile. She looked to Echo, her loyal dog, whose steady gaze complemented her resolve, pushing her to embrace the truth, waiting patiently. Vivid images of her childhood flooded hair, a tapestry woven with quiet resilience, fierce love, and unspoken sacrifices. The stories of her lineage, long suppressed, now unfurled like a banner, each revelation a brushstroke painting a new chapter. Her breath hitched as the undertow of history, both painful and powerful, possessed her. She knew that uncovering her roots meant more than just understanding. It meant healing and reclaiming her purpose. A flicker of awe brightened her eyes, her mind igniting with a sense of unity, the tapestry of bloodlines now stitched with threads of hope. She carefully unfolded the letter further, each sentence a call to action, a promise that her fragmented past could become her foundation. Slowly, with a measured, steady resolve, Megan rose from her chair. Her silhouette against the rising sunlight was a silhouette of strength, an emblem of a woman awakening from the shadows cast by doubt and despair. The camera lingered on her face, capturing the faint glow of realization her journey toward healing had begun. The scene widened as she stepped outside, into the awakening world. The air felt richer, infused with the scent of promise. Layers of darkness peeled away, revealing the soft hues of dawn, rebirth quietly unfolding in the quiet corners of her life. The broken ring, hidden beneath her sleeve, felt lighter, its fractured circle shimmering faintly in the new light, symbolizing the possibility of repair. A gust of wind swept softly through the yard, stirring the autumn leaves, whispering that even the deepest wounds can ground miracles of renewal. Megan looked to the horizon, her gaze unwavering, embracing both the uncertainty and the hope that shimmered just beyond the dawn. In this moment of shifting light and shadow, the lingering lull of silence promised a new beginning, an awakening rooted in courage, love, and the unbreakable strength of her ancestral bond. She paused, breathing in the dawn, and with one last steadying breath, moved forward toward a future waiting patiently for her to reclaim it. The room was bathed in a triumphant golden hue, the soft glow spilling across Megan's face as she stood at the center of her battered, yet reclaiming world. Tattered curtains fluttered in the gentle breeze, sunlight snaking through the cracks and illuminating the space with a quiet resilience. Every detail, the worn furniture, the small family photos, the fragile prayer of hope, spoke of a woman who had endured, fought, and now was beginning to breathe anew. Her eyes, once clouded with despair, now shimmered with clarity, reflecting a dawn of purpose. In her hands, she held a small, weathered photograph of her ancestors' lineage forged in resilience, a silent testament to unbreakable strength. It was a reminder that her roots ran deep, tangled with stories of survival and love, even amid loss. Across the room, her son sat quietly, watching her with wide, trusting eyes. The boy's small hand reached out, clasping hers in solidarity, a tangible symbol of the rebirth she fiercely embraced. Echo, nestled at her feet, nuzzled her ankle, loyalty shining in his gentle gaze. The broken ring, still concealed beneath her sleeve, now felt lighter, its fractured shape a testament not to demise but to potential for healing. Her voice, once shaky, now resonated with steady conviction. I am part of something greater. A story renewed, a family reborn. Each word was a cornerstone, each breath a declaration of her unyielding resolve. Outside, the garden bloomed in defiance of the storm's remnants, vibrant splashes of color, ruddy reds, deep greens, shimmering yellows painting a living fresco of hope. The sky above, a canvas of warming amber and cool cerulean, reflected her inner transformation, victorious yet tempered with humility. She slowly moved toward the window, her silhouette gracefully framed by the light, the symbolic circle of the broken ring now gently shimmering into a full, unbroken circle, the emblem of unity and resilience. Her eyes lingered on the horizon, where the first dawn of her new life flourished. In the distance, the gentle hum of her neighborhood waking beneath a sky promising new beginnings, birds singing softly, leaves whispering tales of strength passed down generations. The air smelled of renewal, of old wounds healing in the warmth of newfound hope. As she closed her eyes for a moment of silent gratitude, the silence was not empty but filled with a quiet promise. Her journey from darkness to light had begun, a step into the future she would forge with unshakable resolve. The camera captured her composed figure, a beacon of transformation, poised on the precipice of the final chapter. The scene lingered on her face, a portrait of grace and purpose, the dawn illuminating her silhouette against the awakening world, ready to face whatever comes, grounded in the knowledge that her story, her family's story, and her own true home beckoned just beyond the horizon. The soft glow of dawn spilled through the large window overlooking the quiet town, bathing the room in a gentle, amber hue. Megan sat cross-legged on the floor, her gaze fixed on the family photos lined along the mantel, images of years gone by, snapshots of smiles, tears, and silent hopes. The air was thick with unspoken gratitude and a fragile peace that had only recently begun to settle over her life. Her hand rested loosely on her knee, fingers tracing the delicate shape of the locket around her neck, a small, familiar weight that grounded her. In her mind, the journey she had just completed unfurled like a tapestry woven with pain, discovery, betrayal, and ultimately, reconciliation. The letter, a symbol of truth and connection, lay softly on the table, its edges slightly frayed from recent handling, yet radiating a quiet strength. Outside, a light breeze stirred the curtains, rustling them gently, as if whispering blessings into her quiet sanctuary. Megan's eyes flicked to the window, watching the world wake slowly, the first birds singing softly, the distant hum of life returning to the streets. A tender smile crept onto her lips, the kind of smile her mother used to give her, filled with hope and knowing. Her fingers reached out and gently brushed the letter's surface, a silent acknowledgement of the truths it carried and the future it promised. This moment, so still, so tender, felt like the quiet before a new chapter, a chance to truly rebuild what had been broken. She exhaled slowly, the tension in her shoulders melting away as a wave of calm washed over her. The broken ring, the symbol of fractured relationships, lay hidden but no longer insignificant. It shimmered faintly in the morning light, a reminder that even broken things could be mended, if only with patience and understanding. Megan closed her eyes for a heartbeat, breathing in the serenity of the moment. Time had paused here, in her heart, in her home, where she finally understood that acceptance was not about forgetting but about forgiving. Forgiving herself, forgiving her past, and embracing the future with a gentle, unwavering resolve. Her hand moved to stroke her son's nearby blanket, a silent promise passing between them of safety, of belonging, of love unbreakable. The dog, loyal as ever, nudged her arm with a quiet whimper, grounding her in this sacred space of renewal. The camera pulled back slowly, capturing her silhouette framed by the new light spilling into the room, a visual metaphor for a soul awakening from darkness into dawn. The scene lingered on her peaceful face, the hint of a smile touching her lips, a testament to resilience and hope. Outside, the rising sun cast long, warm rays over the town, bathing everything in a soft glow. The world, after the storm, was still here, waiting patiently. Megan looked once more at the letter, a gentle tears glistening in her eyes, then slowly rose to her feet, ready to walk into the day and into her new life, with quiet acceptance and a heart rebuilt. The morning sunlight poured through the window, bathing the room in a gentle, golden glow that shimmered softly on the faces of Megan, her son, and Echo. The house was quiet now, filled with a serene stillness that contrasted sharply with the chaos and heartbreak of earlier months. Megan sat quietly on the porch swing, her eyes reflecting a depth of peace she had never truly known before. Her hand rested gently on her son's shoulder, their bond strengthened by the storms they had weathered together. The family photos on the wall, once faded and neglected, now seemed to glow with renewed life. Megan's gaze lingered on the portrait of her old self, tense, uncertain, burdened, then shifted to her son's bright, trusting face. A faint smile touched her lips, a testament to healing and hope. Beside her, Echo sat loyally, soaking in the sunlight, his gentle gaze reassuring her that unconditional love endured beyond pain, beyond the fractured past. She reached out, her fingers brushing the soft fur on his head, feeling the steady warmth of loyalty and forgiveness. In her heart, a quiet realization blossomed: she had reclaimed her voice, her roots, and her sense of belonging. The letter that once seemed like a burden now served as a bridge connecting pain to strength, betrayal to trust, and past to future. The past was not forgotten, but it had become her foundation. Her eyes closed briefly, inhaling the scent of blooming flowers and morning dew, allowing this moment of stillness to imprint itself deeply within her. The house around her seemed to breathe with air, every crack and crevice holding the echoes of struggle transformed into symbols of resilience. The camera pulled back slowly, capturing this tranquil tableauth, peaceful awakening of a woman who had learned to forgive, to reconnect, and to finally embrace her true home, not just in place but within her soul. The setting sun cast long, warm shadows over the yard, symbolizing the journey from darkness into light, from pain into peace. As the scene faded, the soft sounds of laughter of children playing in the distance intertwined with the gentle rustling of leaves, an eternal reminder that even amidst life's storms, hope and harmony can blossom anew. The visual lingered on this idyllic moment, a testament to healing, acceptance, and the enduring power of unexpected connections. The morning air was thick with the scent of jasmine and new beginnings as sunlight poured through the half-open window, casting long, warm rays onto the quiet sanctuary of Megan's living room. The soft hum of the city waking up outside blended seamlessly with the gentle breathing of her family, her son, her partner, and Echo, finally at peace. Their home was no longer fractured by secrets or shadows. It had become a haven where hope now reigned. Megan sat on the porch swing, her hand tenderly resting on her son's shoulder, a gesture both of reassurance and unspoken love. The child's eyes were bright, trusting, reflecting a future unburdened by past mistakes or fears. The dog lay peacefully beside them, its loyal eyes watching over his family with unwavering devotion, a living testament to unconditional love and loyalty. The garden was bursting with life. Roses, daffodils, and wildflowers swayed in a gentle breeze, their colors vivid against the soft pastel sky. The broken ring, once a symbol of fractured promises, now seemed to shimmer faintly in the sunlight, an emblem of renewal, its cracks repaired with the healing touch of forgiveness and understanding. In the distance, children's laughter and the distant chime of bells heralded a new day. Yet beyond these sounds, Megan's gaze lingered on the horizon and the journey she had traveled and the mountains she had moved. Every scar she bore had become a stepping stone, each tear a seed of resilience, each heartbreak a foundation for newfound strength. She looked down at the letter, its once ominous words transformed into a bridge of connection linking her to a family she thought she'd lost. Her fingers traced the worn edges, now smooth with the passage of healing time. A quiet smile played on her lips, a recognition that her story was no longer a tale of rejection but one of redemption. The camera pulled back slowly, revealing this tranquil tableau image of redemption, unity, and peace. The house, the garden, the people, everyone present in this silent moment of victory symbolized the fragile yet unwavering promise of a new beginning. As the scene faded into a canvas of light and shadow, the last lingering shot was of her silhouette against the dawn, a testament to the quiet power of hope, the unbreakable bonds of family, and the eternal journey toward home found, reclaimed, and eternal in its simple, profound beauty. Have you experienced a moment where everything suddenly made sense? Share your story below.